Hi, my name is Elias Garcia, and this is the UPC column script tutorial for Snackability 3.0. The product owner of this application is Dr. Cristina Palacios, and our instructor is Dr. Masood Sajadi. In this tutorial, I'll be discussing how to fill the UPC code column for our local Snackability database. First, I would like to discuss the software libraries and APIs that we're going to be using to make this program run the way we intend to. So first, we'll be using Python as the main programming language. The reason why I used Python was because it was a very good programming language to get up and running and do the tasks that I needed to do. Similarly, it's very good for automation as well. So I figured it was an appropriate language to use. In this case, I'm using Python 3.7. You don't need to use Python 3.7 if you have 3.4 or 2.7 installed. That will be fine just as long as the other libraries conform to those versions of Python. Next, we will need pip. Now, normally when you install Python, you will already have pip installed. It's just a package manager for Python for which you will be downloading other libraries from. Normally, when you already set up your path, pip is already included. So, I mean, but in either case, just make sure that your environment variables are set for not only Python but pip as well. Next, we will use MySQL connector. This is going to be the database driver for Python programs, and in this case, this is what we're going to use to connect to the MySQL database. After that, we'll have HTTP lib2. That's just a library that you will install using pip, and it will handle performing HTTP requests that we'll be using to call the API. Lastly, we'll be using UPC item DB. That's the UPC database where we will be retrieving the UPC codes. Next, I just want to show you guys where you can find these links for the programs that you will be needing. Of course, I will provide the links in the readme.txt file inside the program, but in either case, I just want to show you guys where I found the programs that I intend to use. So here we can go to Python. You can download the next release, which is 3.7.3. Of course, if you already have it installed, you don't need to get 3.7, but if you haven't installed it yet, you should be fine working with 3.7. Next, you will need access to Heroku. This is where you will get your credentials for the database that we have on the cloud right now on Heroku. So once you get the credentials from Dr. Palacios, you will be able to access our backend, and inside the backend, that's where we have the variables for the database credentials. Next, this is a very important one. You need a MySQL connector. Again, like I said it before, this is just a database driver for Python platforms, and this is what we will be using to connect to the MySQL database. Well, and then again for pip and HTTP lib, again, pip is already installed when you download Python, and then once you already have pip installed, you will just have to do you will have to run, and let me show you guys. You will just run you will just run well, since I'm running 3.7, you'll do capital PY, but otherwise you'll just run Python or you'll just run pip. And I'm sorry, I'm missing pip right here. You'll do pip install http lib2. Let me see if it'll let me download it again, but I already have it downloaded. See, okay, since I already downloaded it, it's saying that well, it's not downloading it again, but I already have it downloaded. So if not, you'll see it downloading as soon as you run that command. So that's how you would install http lib, which would already come with, using pip, which would already come with Python. Lastly, this is the database that I'm referring to. This is the place where we will be looking up UPC codes. So just to show you a demonstration, if I type Frito Lay's, let's say that's the query that we're sending. It's going to go ahead and do a search, and then you'll see UPC codes here for different products that the program will try to best match. All right, so now that we're here in the program, first, the program will be on Bitbucket is going to be titled UPC label script. You could just get the program by doing git clone and then following, grabbing the link that is provided for this program. And then once you already have it downloaded and then into your computer, you'll see these 4 files. The README will just contain the links to the downloads for the software that you're going to be required to use, as well as less detailed instructions on how to run the program. And then you will have these 3 files, which is config, Python MySQL DB config, and UPC fill. Now config.ini is going to go ahead and house the database credentials. Once you have the database credentials, you'll just assign them accordingly. So you'll have your host, database, user, and password. This auth plugin is just a hashing method for how it authenticates to MySQL, but you don't have to worry about that. This is already set to MySQL native password. You don't need to adjust that. Next, we will have Python MySQL config. Again, this is just a program that you don't have to touch at all. This is just a way that I had it set up. Just give me one moment so that I can access it. This is just going to get the config file and create an object which will be fed into the MySQL connector. From the config.ini file. All it will do is create each item into an object. So host, database, password, and user, it just turn it into an object and send it to the MySQL connector. All right, next, this is the important one. It's going to be the UPC fill program. This is the actual program where everything happens. Let me see. I don't know if you guys can see it. I think you can, but it'll run 2 functions. It'll do query with fetch all. This will be in charge of retrieving the snack list. So this variable snack list will hold all of the snacks from the database. And then get JSON data is gonna do 2 things. It's gonna make the HTTP request to try to find a snack, and if it does, it's gonna call another function that's called UPC update UPC, which will handle actually changing the value for the UPC column of that particular snack, as you can see here. So query with fetch all will go ahead and make the connection from the object that it created from the other program, and then it's gonna select the brand name product from this database where an ID is gonna be of a particular range. Now, this is something that I need to discuss so you guys can understand. The reason why I'm selecting after a certain range is because we have a daily limit for UPC item DB. Since we are running on the free version, we're only limited to 100 calls. Well, technically 100 calls, but in reality, it only lets me do 40 calls per day, and I'm not completely sure why. And that's taking the burst rate limit into account. I believe you cannot make no more than 6 calls per minute. So I set a timeout for 12 seconds. Every time that you make a call, it's gonna wait 12 seconds until it makes the next one, and then it'll only let you do about 40 to 50 calls per day. I don't know why they say 100, but either way, I've tried it across multiple days, and it always lets me do about 40 to 50 calls. You can use the MySQL Workbench to see the data tables that we have here. I'd actually recommend it versus using the command line interface, just so that you guys can see better, the table and the query and everything like that. I didn't put it in the requirements for software because it would be implied that you guys, to access the database, you will need MySQL and MySQL Workbench, which will probably be mentioned in the installation video. But either way, here's the database that we have here. I'll go ahead and I'll demonstrate to you guys a couple of queries and see how it updates. So right now I already did like up to 500 snacks. So I'm gonna start from the number 5371, and I'm gonna start making API calls so that it'll update these UPC values after this number right here. So in query with fetch all, I'll edit this to 5371. And then it's going to start from 5371, get all of the snacks that are higher than ID number 5371, and then it'll return that. It'll send it to get JSON data. Inside get JSON data, we're going to start making, for each snack in the snack list, we're going to start making an HTTP request to UPC item DB. For in the query string is going to house the name, the brand name, and the product name of the snack. And then if it finds it, it's going to go ahead and call UPC, update UPC, where it's going to update the UPC code based on the brand name and product name. Then otherwise, it's going to go ahead and say that there was no UPC key found, and then it's going to go to sleep for 12 seconds to avoid violating the burst rate limit. Let me go ahead and exit here. So I already have the HTTP library installed as well as MySQL connector. So this should run as soon as this should run right away. Let me go ahead and run the program for you guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and add the credentials, and I'll show you, and I'll run the program right now. Okay, so I already went ahead and updated the variables. Again, to access that database credential, you will have to go into Heroku once you have the login information. Inside Heroku, you will go to settings, and then inside settings, you will see a button that says reveal config variables, and you will see the database credentials right there. So let me go ahead and run the program so you guys can see. You're gonna see a couple console log messages that I added. Of course, you can feel free to change them if you want to see, if you don't feel like this is too helpful. But you'll see that the list is created. It's created from M&M's milk chocolate candy. It turns it into a string. So M&M's and milk chocolate candy. That's what's being sent to UPC item DB. And then we get a 200, meaning that it was successful. And then it's gonna check if the UPC key is there. If it's found, is going to update the snack, and then it's going to time out for 12 seconds again. So as you can see, we already have a couple of requests that are already going in for the next item. So this is pretty much how the program will be working. Again, you're limited to only 40 calls a day. So you will have to run it every day, unless of course there's a like an upgraded version, an upgraded plan that's purchased that will let you do more calls per day. But otherwise, you will be doing this every day until the snacks are filled. I managed to fill up about 500 snacks, and there's like about 900. So of course, it's expected that not all the snacks are going to be found, but this is just to help Dr. Palacio students, PhD students, with the task of having to fill out the UPC codes, because otherwise they would have to do it manually for each snack. Okay, so now that I ran the script for a couple of minutes, we're already seeing here that we have some 429 HTTP codes. This pretty much means that you already exceeded the daily limit, and you're no longer you no longer have permission to query UPC IMDb until the next day. So you already know that when you start seeing this code, just stop the program and just stop it right here and try it again for tomorrow. So I want to go ahead and show you guys the updated UPC columns. So as you can recall, last time we had it, we started at 5371. So I'm going to go ahead and query again, run the query again, and you can see, well, we should see the new UPC codes. Okay. Great. So as you can see, from 5371, we already have a new UPC code, and we have filled UPC values for all of these columns right here. And then just to test, let's see, let's try a UPC code. So let's see what we got here. We got the UPC code. Let's see if I can just copy field. And if we go to UPC item DB, we should get a snack that's at least similar to the snack that we have in snackability. Sorry, let me go ahead and remove the quotations. Okay, so as you can see here, we have M&M's milk chocolate candy, and this being tied to this product right here, which is right here, M&M milk chocolate candy. Now, of course, it's not always going to be 100% accurate, but again, if we could get like about 600 snacks that are accurate and the other 300 have to be changed, and that's better than having to manually change 900 snacks. All right, so once again, to conclude, this has been a tutorial to fill UPC values for all the snacks in the local snackability database for snackability 3.0. Of course, if you have any other questions, if there's something that's not clear, you can always feel free to email me and I'll be glad to help you out with this program. Thank you.